What's up, guys? Dave Nooner 1, 2, and 2, and today I got my second list of my rituals. This is part 2, the best rituals in the game. There's not very many ritual monsters, so this list can't do the 8 through 1 like it did with the vanillas. But this list, however, this one is definitely in order of how I feel they actually stack up with one another. So it's relatively from worst to best of the best. So let's get to it.
Number 8.
Gishki Zielgigas. Gishki Zielgigas is actually a really powerful card. That 3200 attack is huge, and he does have like a non-targeting removal effect where you can pay, 1,000 life points to draw a card, and if it's a Gishki monster, you can reveal it and then bounce one card on the field. It's really good. He could have been lower on the list, but he is like level 10, so he's a little weird to summon. Gishkis don't have much problem with it, but they can span this thing if they wanted to. But it's not definite removal, because like you could like pay 1,000 to draw an upstart or something, and then you can't do anything. So, but I put him on the list anyway, just because he's huge, and that non-targeting removal is like really powerful.
Number 7.
Relinquished. Oh man, I'm sorry, buddy. You should be number 1 because you're number 1 in my book. But Relinquished, he isn't that great. He is better than Zielgigas, I believe, because he is a definite removal of a monster. Because let's face it, you're probably bouncing a monster with Zielgigas. You could bounce a face-up spell, but what would you be bouncing? You know, it's a monster. You're getting rid of a problem. So Relinquish is definitely a better removal. I mean, yeah, you can't get non-targeting monsters like, like Forerunner or something, but you would probably be playing this in Kaijus anyway, so, yeah, and frankly, if you use, like, one of the Jin releaser, not releaser, Demolisher of Rituals, he becomes untargetable, so that's a thing, and, he's Relinquished, he's a classic card, I love this thing, I wish it was lower on the list, but he isn't that good, but he's still got a relevant effect, I really like him still.
Number 6.
Demise, King of Armageddon. I love Demise, King of Armageddon. Badass name, really cool artwork, and his effect is freaking dope. Pay 2,000 life points to destroy every other card on the field except himself. Like, he just blows everything up. It's crazy. I think the only reason why he's not, like, that great of a card anymore is because he suffers that old school ritual problem where his level and his power level just doesn't really match up. He's level 8, but he's got like level 6 stats. Like 2,400 attack is just really not that much compared to like what his effect is. And 2,000 life points is a lot, I guess, but I don't know. Like with pre-prep coming out, you guys might see a profile with him.
Number 5.
Herald of Perfection. I'm sorry, Will. He couldn't be number 1 either. But frankly, next to Relinquished, he's probably my second favorite ritual card. I love Spirits. That's one of my favorite decks of all time. I love the mechanic. I love the bouncing and all the cool effects that they have. And when I first saw Alanthio's profile on his Herald of Perfection Spirit deck, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. You get to search fairies every turn. You can negate stuff. That's so good. Oh, Rogue. And like it was actually one of my the first videos of him I ever actually watched. I loved it. I loved the card, and I trolled some people with this thing at locals, and I won a fair share of tournaments with it. So, you know, hey, I like the card. That hit the hit the preparation of rites that killed the deck. And but hey, pre-prep's coming out. This thing might come make a comeback, and I dare you to play Pendulum Scales with Herald of Perfection on board. You're not doing anything.
Number 4.
Lord of the Red. Yes. Now we're getting to some really fun cards. This thing, I do say it's a little better than Herald of Perfection. Herald of Perfection negates anything, but he pops anything. So, and you don't have to burn hand advantage to do it. I think that's kind of why I did this with him. Basically, what Lord of the Red does is when either player, during either player's turn, does anything, just plays a card, he can do one of two things. Either pop a monster or pop a spell or trap, and he can do both. So, once each. So you can pop 2 cards a turn. 1 spell, 1 trap, 1 monster. Combo this with Kaijus. Oh, you're just pumping counters out with this thing. Like, keeping your waterfront full. And then you have Gamacell sitting next to him. So he's popping stuff like pendulum scales and Gamma popping stuff like, or negating stuff like Regeki, your opponent isn't doing anything, and you're just keep fueling Gamma negates. So good.
Number 3.
All right. I had to put Nekroz on the list. I put Gishkis on here already. I mean, it's not a best ritual thing without Trishula. Trishula is their boss monster. He's great. You know, this thing, during Nekroz format, this thing scared the shit out of everybody. Like, even other Nekroz players did not like this card. This thing is so freaking good. Holy shit. Like, this would make you play your entire hand on the field. I mean, whatever you could do just to set all your spells and traps and get all your monsters in the graveyard or in the field, just so you would have no hand, so your opponent couldn't hit you with this thing. You know how bad of a play that is, just to throw all your crap down on the field just so it gets blown up by whatever? Like, putting your entire resources into one basket just so you don't get hit by this thing is a testament to how powerful this card is. Getting banished 3 cards that you, like, one out of your grave, one out of your hand, one on your field, is huge. Now, of course, like I said, you can dodge it, but holy crap, it makes you make suboptimal plays to avoid it, and at 2700 attack, it's still very powerful. So this card's great, and it really probably was why, you know, Nekroz were so powerful, because they could lock you out with Jin, and then when you're trying to figure that out, they slam this thing down and just decimate you.
Number 2.
Evigishki Gustkraken. I put 2 Gishkis on this list. I was going to do 1 Nekroz, 1 Gishki, because they are both ritual-based archetypes, and it would be a little unfair, because you could probably make an argument that everything on this list should just be Nekroz and Gishkis. Mostly Nekroz. But that's kind of stupid. So I wanted to keep it limited to no more than 2 of each. And Gustkraken is really good. You get to look at 2 random cards out of your opponent's hand and shuffle 1 back into their deck. He's like a forceful sentry as a monster. And this thing's at 1 for a damn good reason, because Gishis could loop this if they had to. Meaning you could sit there and just blow through your opponent's hand. Like, it's level 6, you could use it in Heretics. Like, the deck would be so busted if this thing was at more than 1. This card is really, really good. The fact that you just get to look at your opponent's hand, 2 cards out of your opponent's hand is probably a majority of their hand, because you don't sit there with 4 cards in your hand the entire duel. Half the time it's 2 or 3. So you're looking at a majority of their hand, and you get, which is great. Knowledge is always power. Like, then you just can't flip Mind Crush and just lull. But you get to knock 1 out of their hand and put it back in their deck. That's the best place to put a card ever. You know, banishing it, well, what is it? Ritual Beasts and Cosmos don't care too much if you banish your stuff. Putting it face down, well, I mean, if you're Shadal's, who cares? Or if, putting it back to the hand, Burning Abyss. But no, put that crap back in the deck, yeah, and no one likes that, because that's really hard to get back. So, good card.
Number 1.
Nekroz of Brionac. Woo-wee, we're getting to some really, really, really split hairs here. You can make an argument in a bubble that Gustkraken's a better card because his effect knocks cards out of the hand. You pretty much can't power creep knocking cards out of a hand. That effect is perfect. It's just like, that's so good to knock out your opponent's resources for next turn. That means that they can't really do anything and you just cripple them. Great. However, you could run a Gishki deck without him, because you could. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't, but you could. You can't run Nekroz without Brionac. Brionac is so important to Nekroz that they put him to 1 and it killed the deck. I mean, his effect is probably the most perfect search card effect in the game. It's a hand effect, meaning it's extremely hard to stop, and it searches every monster in the theme, not the level 4 Nekroz, or not the effect monster Nekroz, or just the rituals. No, it gets every single one. Which means you can get Colossalus, which searches all the spells, meaning that Brionac is essentially search any card in the theme. Whoa, that's freaking crazy. That's nuts. Like, this thing is literally the perfect search card. Stopping it is next to impossible. You have to play really weird floodgates that you just wouldn't, side deck or anything. So it's just like, wow, what a great freaking card he is. And it goes to show how powerful he is, because when they put him to 1, it killed the freaking deck. Like, sure, you can make the argument that Shrit was also a nut blow, and it was. It really was. It makes making Trish hard. But honestly, if you put, Shrit to 0, but Brio to 3, the deck would work a lot better than if you put Shrit to 3 and Brio to 0. I mean, buh. So it was really hard to figure out which one I wanted to be 1 and which one I wanted to be 2, so you could make an argument either way. In a bubble, Gustkraken's really good. As an archetype, Brio's really good. And let's not even ignore Brio's actual summon effect. I mean, no one ever summons Brio, but you can. And honestly, it's even good against pendulums, because when they're summoned from the extra deck, you just send them right back. He bounces 2 cards. Like, that's pretty good. Like, bouncing 1 card would be a solid effect. Bouncing 2? Ooh, so your opponent likes to spam XYZs, you just play him and get out of here, I don't want to deal with you. That's like, actually, that's still a really solid effect. Just putting him at 1 hurt the deck so bad, because now you can't make that distinction whether you want to use that field effect or hand effect. You gotta do shenanigans to try to get both. That's just an awkward and annoying. But anyway, guys, let me know down in the comments below what you think of the list. This one was actually kind of fun. I think I'm going to do fusions next, because there's a lot of bad fusions. That list should be really fun, and there's a lot of really good fusions, so that list should also be really fun. I got a couple decks coming along the lines. One that I'm doing right now is Hero Cosmos. It's really, really fun, and I'll get that one to you guys soon. And remember, guys, if you don't troll the meta, who will? I'll see you guys next time.
Number 2.
Performance of Sword. Again, what a weird card, like, Performance of Sword. So the monster isn't even the girl, you know, that's dancing with the sword. The monster is her performance of the sword. So, what?